The negotiation in the hall begins like a transaction but quickly becomes something more dangerous. Cassian might as well be pushing the Starpath across a table as if it speaks for itself. 40,000 credits is cheap, he insists, emphasizing its sealed state as proof of authenticity. He's selling confidence as much as hardware, trying to frame himself as a man who delivers. Luthen undercuts him at every step. He questions the box, he questions Cassian's word, he even questions whether Cassian will still be around long enough to make good if the deal goes wrong. The dialogue is structured as fencing, Cassian striking with assertions and Luthen parrying with doubt. Cassian's collateral is telling. He offers his home address, Bix's reputation, his word. None of these are operational securities, they're personal, emotional tokens. At first I thought it was odd that Cassian stated his word as if that was the discussion over, as if saying that imbues him with trust. But this is how Cassian survives. Trust is brokered through people rather than through protocols. On Ferrix and in the circles he moves in, community-driven, word of mouth, that probably means a lot, but that doesn't fly in all situations. Luthen recognizes the weakness immediately. By the way, when Cassian says "you know where I live," I don't think he means the address, I just think it means Ferrix is quite small. Back on the streets, the consequences of secrecy and betrayal boil over. Salmon bursts into Bix's shop with the news. The corpos are at Marva's. It's a moment that confirms your sense of Salmon and by extension Wilman are part of Cassian's inner circle. They know enough to panic and they run straight to Bix. We get another mention of Chob here, and I looked it up this time, but there is no real data on what I assume is a historical or religious figure. While the dialogue here never makes clear whether Salmon already knows Cassian is Kenari, I think he does. My take is that Cassian, Marva, Brasso, Bix, Salmon and Wilmon are kind of a found family unit and all know each other's secrets. Bix instantly makes the leap, someone ratted him out. When Tim appears in the doorway, he accidentally lets on he knows more about this than he should. Bix cuts straight through. "Did I ever tell you Cassian was born on Kenari?" Her disappointment is devastating. Bix runs out of the shop. Salmon, whose confusion I think is around what Tim has done and not about Cassian being Kenari or in trouble again, tries to press Tim for answers, but Tim wouldn't want to answer that even if he didn't need to run after Bix right now. In the hall, the tone hardens. Luthen produces the money with a flourish, but the show of wealth is secondary to the test. He triangulates Cassian's identity, spy, front, or the thing itself. Cassian insists on the simplest frame. I've got the box, you've got the money, end of story. But Luthen keeps pressing, even offering a bonus just to hear how the theft was done. Cassian's answer is disarmingly simple. You just walk in like you belong. He frames Imperial arrogance as both shield and blind spot. Uniforms, dirty hands, an air of confidence, that's all it takes. His tone is pragmatic, almost dismissive, but the anger beneath finally breaks through. They're so fat and satisfied they can't imagine it, that someone like me would ever get inside their house, walk their floors, spit in their food, take their gear. It's the most personal articulation of his resentment yet, and Luthen seizes on it instantly. He repeats the sentiment back, folds it into his own ideological pitch. They don't even think about us, but they will. When Cassian pushes back with "us, I don't know you," the word becomes the pivot of the whole exchange. Cassian insists on individuality, survival through isolation. Luthen insists on collectivity, survival through solidarity. Then Luthen detonates the first of two bombs he sets off in here. Clem. Isn't that where they hung your father? Cassian's entire posture changes. He draws his weapon, which looks to be Clem's, fury and grief blazing. And confusion. What the hell? This is a black market tech buyer who has come to complete a quick exchange. He knows my name and where I'll be. And now he's talking about my father? This raises some questions about Bix for me. In a prior scene where Tim saw the Pre-Mor bulletin on the console, I confidently stated Tim didn't know Cassian was Kenari. He's not in that group of 6 or so people I mentioned earlier. And I couldn't fathom why Bix would tell him. But it turns out she did. So why on earth would she do that? It was probably partly about breaking a confidence to forge a bond with someone. I'm not supposed to tell anyone this, but after all, I think she was trying to make a go of it with Tim, and that's a good way to get him on side. But why break Cassian's trust instead of telling him something about her? I never thought I'd tell anyone this, but I can only imagine it was something Tim was whining about for a few days, and it was the only thing she could say to shut him down. But I don't get it. What's this Cassian thing you have? And she's like, it's nothing. We just grew up together and I'm protective of him and he's got a lot of issues, so I need to be there for him. And he's going, what issues? He's not got it harder than anyone else here. And stuff like that. And eventually she just relented and just never thought there would be any consequences. Sorry for that Scottish. That was worse than the Irish. And now Luthen knows stuff he shouldn't. Until now, there's not been a shred of evidence that Bix knows Luthen is a rebellion leader. The secrecy she's employed in contacting him would have been the same were he merely a black market tech buyer. The deference she showed merely because she understands the way he works and oh yeah, he's probably her biggest customer, keep that guy happy. A lot of the stuff Luthen knows about Cassian could be gleaned from public records, maybe from privately held data he hacked. But he would have needed a starting point and a reason to be interested in Cassian, and both of those came from Bix, they must have. She told him about Kenari, and the Andors at the very least, technically betraying Cassian. And she wouldn't tell a buyer that, even if the weird question came up, she'd have said Fest to match official record. And then I wondered if this meant Bix was actually in the rebellion. But of course she is. You don't get a sword touched to each shoulder or a Letterman jacket. If you know someone is a rebel and you don't tell the police, you're in the rebellion. If you act as an intermediary for stolen Empire tech, then you're almost as in as it gets, unless you're actively, secretly recruiting one of your best friends into the network, which if nothing else tells you that breaking Cassian's trust is less important to Bix than this fight. She's in alright. Back in the hall, at the moment Cassian asserts dominance, approaching and pressing the gun to Luthen's forehead, Luthen reveals his real power. The older man doesn't flinch, he keeps talking, calm, unhurried, still steering the conversation. This is the moment Luthen flips the frame entirely. He came for the Starpath, but what he really wants is Cassian. Don't you want to fight these bastards for real? Cassian is caught between two worlds, the transactional survival he knows and the ideological struggle Luthen embodies. You don't run off to join a spy network, they come for you. The negotiation is over. Recruitment has begun.